So, Julian Slater, you were the sound designer, re-recording mixer, supervising sound editor on Baby Driver, which is this high-octane action movie filled with car chases, gunfights, and music. Uh, I mean, is this just like a sound editor, sound designer's dream come true to be able to work on a movie like this?
In short, yes. Uh, it's interesting. I knew, I felt that it was a special project. I felt that it was a special project for many reasons. Uh, uh, but with regards to sound, I thought it was a special project. Uh, and the thing that's kind of surprised me and humbled me is I felt that the work that we were doing as a team, as in me and my sound team and Edgar and the picture editors, was something that was quite special. I mean, I would frequently get goosebumps reviewing stuff with my crew. Um, However, I had no concept that anyone else would pick up on it. You kind of get lost in the moment, and you work in your little small room away from everything. And while I knew that I felt it was special for me. I never really kind of appreciated that other people would understand what went into it and would pick up on all the kind of sound things that we did, and not just the way we mixed it, but the sound ingredients. And going all the way back to reading the script from Edgar. When I read the script from Edgar, it was this iPad app that played the music in sync with the page turns, and he obviously wrote it with sound in mind, and it's in the DNA of the movie. It is to do with sound. So many times you speak with a director who says, I care passionately about sound and I want this to be all about sound. It's very, very rare that the director writes the movie with sound in mind, and that the central character is listening to music the whole time. I mean, for that reason, it's certainly a special project.
So, I mean, tell us a little bit about some of those things you did with sound, because I mean, the movie really is reliant on the music. It also mixes the music and the sound very well. So, talk about some of those things that you did with sound.
So it's kind of on a multitude of layers. I guess on one aspect, you've got the synchronization of whatever Baby is listening to at that time. You've got the diegetic and the real world sounds working in conjunction with that. So that was a process that's certainly for me. I've been doing this not a small amount of years now, 25 years. And we kind of had to change the way we worked. Rather than working in time code and feet and frames, which is how we normally work, we worked in bars and beats. We had to each piece of music which was locked into the script. I think Edgar cleared the music 18 months before even the shoot. We had to tempo map each piece of music to give it its relevant piece of tempo. So at any given point in the movie, if say we wanted which we did on various occasions, let's say the car sirens, the police sirens as he's chasing Baby, they are all in tempo with the music. They're all tempo mapped to the music. They're also pitched to the music. So on one element, we have a multitude of elements working with the music so that they are musical, but they are also believable and cinematic. So, for example, gunshots that work with the drum beats of Tequila may sound great musically, but they don't necessarily work cinematically. So we kind of had to have a checkbox of things that did it work musically and did it also work cinematically. So that was one process with everything, working with the score and kind of melding and becoming part of the score. And then, we're trying to tell the story from Baby's point of view. He's as a character, he's in every scene. And, the thing with Baby is he suffers from tinnitus. And so any time in the movie that he is not listening to music, either on his earbuds or music isn't playing within the environment that he's in, we have this tinnitus sound, which is sometimes it's the kind of almost classic ringing in the ears sound. But we learned early on that we can't fill a movie full of that at any great volume, because it's just going to alienate the audience. So we came up with a range of different varieties to convey tinnitus. So the tonal sound is by and large, it's in the pitch of either the outcoming piece of music or the next ingoing piece of music. So the pitch of that varies. Sometimes it's Stephen Price's score that is held strings that evokes tinnitus. So that's another device that we are using, as well as the syncopation of the effects to the score to kind of show things of how baby perceives things. And then there's the mix, which is like whenever baby is, it's a much more surround heavy mix than one would traditionally do. And also when baby takes his earbuds out, we are hearing it from his perspective. So sometimes in the movie, there's whole scenes where the music is coming out of just the right-hand speaker because that's the side he has his earbud in. So that in many regards, it's quite an unconventional mix as well as an unconventional soundtrack, I would say.
And I mean, so many of those sounds, so many of those musical moments are set to picture, like you touched upon earlier. Can you talk a bit more about that? I mean, about expressing sound through the pictures and in syncopation with that.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, and this is just a wild guess from memory, we're talking kind of 60-40%, 60 in favor of things that you hear but don't see against picture, and 40% of things you do see against picture. So the gunshot shooting, blam, 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 they've been shot to picture, but at the same time as that, there's all the ricochets and the bullet squibs that are happening off screen that you don't see. So we're split between those two camps. So, like I say, we kind of had a checkbox of ways to approach this and how to make it work. So, things that work to the beat of the score, don't necessarily work for what we're listening to. So it's a constant self-checking of making things work in both camps. And then once, Edgar's obviously set up this environment where things are working in tempo and in sync to the music, then we can push that further. Dog barks in the street are in sync with the music at that given time. Trains passing in the distance, car horns. The great thing about working in this environment, and the great thing about working with Edgar, is once he constructs this environment, he's happy for me then to take the ball and run with it and kind of go further than perhaps some other directors would.
What was the most difficult scene for you to do from a sound perspective?
I would say the most difficult to kind of crack as a concept was after baby's hearing has been blown out towards the end of the movie, because we want to, he's lost the most powerful thing to him. The most important thing to him is his listening to music, and his ears have been shot out and they're ringing. So we needed to convey that he lost his hearing and he's deaf and he can't hear anything, but at the same time we need to understand what's being said. So using a mixture of filtering the dialogue that's being said at that time and turning the police sirens in the background into this, again, we kind of morphed the police sirens into tinnitus, and that took a lot of iterations to make right, because we wanted to push it far enough that it enveloped the audience, but we wanted to push it far enough also to make sure that it didn't kind of push the audience away. The one thing that we were very keen on doing was not making this soundtrack. The soundtrack pulls you in as an audience member, it makes you see things and hear things as baby does, and not to push you away, and not to be too loud, not for the tinnitus to annoy you, to make you feel unsettled, but not to annoy you. So that an hour into the movie, when things are still happening in syncopation to the music, you're not kind of sitting there saying, all right, we get it. So it's a kind of, I would say that him losing his hearing, but then just generally the kind of self-check to make sure that we are engaging the audience and not pushing them away was one of the tricks.
There's a lot of real standout sequences in this movie, a lot of great car chases and shootouts and things like that. Particularly, there's this great climactic, heist gone wrong sequence towards the end of the movie. Can you talk about how you create and blend those sounds of like car engines, tire screeches, guns going off, things like that? How you blend all that into a sequence and then choose what to play up, what to play down?
Yeah. So so the you know, every sound that you hear in the movie has to kind of go through this vetting process of pitching and squashing the time of it. And we were very fortunate that all the music had been cleared beforehand, and Edgar had obviously shot the movie to all those music cues. So we were pretty confident that everything that we were laying to was not going to change. It would have been slightly nightmarish if we'd have done a whole pass on Tequila, for example, and then Edgar had decided at the last moment, I actually want to swap that out, because of course everything that we are doing lynches on those musical phrases and those musical pieces. So you know, we had that luxury. The thing with the mix, you know, John Spencer Blues Explosion with Bell Bottoms is not a tempo locked piece of music. A lot of these pieces of music are guys guys jamming away, where the tempo is not 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. It's not locked. It's going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So then if we're going to tempo map sirens to that and make them in sync with the music, they actually sound pretty radical. They actually sound pretty silly at times, rather than just going, you know, Nina, Nina, Nina. They're floating up and down. So with the mix, what we would do is we would put the sirens in at the particular time that they worked in the music and that they sunk to the music and didn't sound ridiculous. And then we would pull them out and then reset the tempo on the siren and put them back into the mix when they worked again. So the mix on this was kind of like it's like this kind of puzzle of deciding when to put things in the mix that work musically, and when they don't, we try not to favor them. So, you know, like I say, it's a mixture of what works cinematically, but, you know, also works musically, and keeping that thread going throughout the movie.
Did you have a favorite musical moment from the movie? I mean, there's so many great ones in it, but was there one that you said, "Oh, I did a really good job here," or "This is a nice one"?
You know, I've been asked that before, and it sounds, I guess it sounds cliche. It's all favorite. It's all for various reasons, you know. So the first getaway chase, which is the bell bottoms when he's in this red Subaru WRX. That's the perfect getaway. Nothing goes wrong for Baby. We understand straight away that he is the best at the best, and everything goes according to plan. So for that car chase, we kind of amped it up a bit, and we designed whooshes on all the car paths and kind of made it much more stylized. The subsequent one, which is when things start going wrong, we start detuning the sound. They're still in time with the music, but we then start playing with them sounding not quite so perfect against the music. So each sequence sounds different in of its own. Favorites, I don't know, for different reasons. The Tequila, just because it's short and sweet, and it's like something that, you know, that kind of tells you exactly what the gist of the movie is doing. Hocus Pocus, to my shame, I'd never heard the Hocus Pocus music cue before, and in the amount of sound work that goes into that so late on in the movie, and it turns from being a car chase movie into a foot chase movie at that point. That's one of my favorites, I would say.
I think it's certainly a testament to the movie that there's not a bad musical moment in it at all. It really works very well from beginning to end,
Right.
consistently. Talk a bit more about working with Edgar Wright. What's that collaboration like?
It's amazing. I'm lucky enough to have a relationship with a director who is a genius. I mean, when I think of, I was just speaking to someone earlier today, when I think of Shaun of the Dead and Baby, which is his first and his most recent movie, and you think of the originality that is in both of those bookends over the course of the last 15 years, I'm extremely lucky to work with him, and I'm extremely lucky that he is, knock on wood, he's loyal to me. So, you know, whenever I get a script from Edgar, you know, I do this thing where I treat it as a piece of treasure. I take myself away to a nice, quiet location, and I turn the lights down, and I just devour the script. And think about, because the way that Edgar writes, you know, he, not just on Baby Driver, but all the movies, he's thinking about sound, and you can see it in the script. So I know when I get that script that it's going to be a treasure chest for me for audio, and let alone the great story, and it's going to be an original thing in of itself. So it's I'm very lucky.
You're a two-time Emmy nominee for your work on Animal Farm and Tsunami: The Aftermath. Not to jinx your chances or anything, but a lot of the Oscar buzz surrounding this movie has been for your work and for all of the great sound work on it. What does that kind of recognition mean for you?
It's weird for me. This is the first time that my name and those circles have been mentioned at the same time. For me, the thing that this process has been that's been amazing about it is I feel that I've been in LA for 4.5 years, and when which I have done, I've had my peers walk out of the cinema and either call or text me or find out my email address or my phone number to call and text me to say, I just want you to know that this has blown me away. That's my career high. Anything else that comes after that would be amazing. We'll see. I'm far too, I guess, British to I'm quite reserved about that kind of stuff. If it happens, it would be amazing. But the fact that my fellow peers and professionals and filmmakers have watched that movie, and actually also people's mums who aren't into sound have also said that was an amazing sounding movie, that means the world to me. It's going back to our one of our first points, that doesn't happen very often, so I'm if it happens, it would be amazing. But I feel like I've already kind of won something here just by the fact that I got to work on the movie.
Well, it's a great movie and certainly worthy of all the attention that it's gotten. And thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.